Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And in this video, I'm going to talk about and give an opinion about what I think Verizon's outlook for 2023 looks like. So here we have an article from Verizon's News Center, which I will leave in the description. 5G year in review, 10 major milestones of 2022. I'm not going to talk about all of them. I just want to talk about two of them. So one of them, in 2022, they really got C-band off the ground, right? They very recently announced that they hit the milestone of 175 million pops covered, way earlier than the end of year, or a couple of weeks, I should say. And I know, per my source, that they're planning on hitting 200 million at the end of January, not March anymore, end of January. So they're pacing far ahead of any schedule that they originally guided. That's why I say at scale, the network is not the problem. They're very close to covering 200 million people, with some with 100 megahertz of C-band, some with 60. And it's coming onto a very dense grid that was built for AWS. Verizon is speeding up at a pace that we haven't really seen that since, of course, T-Mobile launched their 2.5, but this is happening at a much faster and greater scale, in my opinion. And then in the second part, they got fixed wireless access off the ground. They got that started. They surpassed 1 million customer adds on fixed wireless access, and that will continue growing in 2023. So a part of my outlook for 2023, I think, or I should say I'm very confident that the fixed wireless access growth will remain healthy and will be a highlight of positivity on most of Verizon's quarterly earnings throughout 2023. They will be able to highlight this fixed wireless access growth. For one, C-band is scaling very quickly, so there's more that they can tap into, right? They've probably been reluctant to really push the fixed wireless access in terms of marketing, because they haven't had C-band at the scale that it will be at the end of January. But now that there's more capacity to pull from, they can start more aggressively targeting competition, right? Targeting T-Mobile, targeting cable. And we've recently seen that from Verizon now. Even older unlimited plans, if you're paying at least $30 or more, you can now add on a line for fixed wireless access for $25. In my opinion, that's very aggressive. That's a competitive response, and that tells us that Verizon's capacity is opening up more at scale. So I think that's going to be a very positive highlight for T-Mobile. For Verizon at these next 4 quarters in 2023. The problem that I still see in 2023 is going to be the consumer group. That's going to be a problem. I think that's going to be way too hard as it currently stands for them to change that momentum. And it starts with Hans. Hans is the CEO of the company, and he's now also in charge of consumer group. I'm hearing he's going through that consumer group side. He's very angry. He's very aggressive. He wants to make changes. He's now seeing all the paperwork, apparently. But I still take my stance that he's seen all of this before. I just don't know why Hans is acting like this is all new to him. He knew the numbers. He's the one that tells us the numbers every quarter. He knows consumer group has been struggling. They haven't had any growth. So he's been on the board meetings. He's been in the war rooms. He knows where he should know what was happening with the consumer group. If he didn't, then that was a failure on him from the jump. So I still see that a big problem for Verizon in 2023. I myself don't see that getting better. From what I'm hearing, the moves that they want to make in the first quarter, I just don't see those moves adding any positivity at large to that consumer group. I just see T-Mobile bringing too much competition, too much competitive pressure, especially as they scale more in those smaller markets where Verizon in large part was dominant, and they're starting to take that share there. It's just going to be tough. I think Verizon is going to need new leadership as a CEO, and we still and I haven't said this in a video. We still don't know if Hans is only running the consumer group temporarily until he finds a replacement, or if that's permanent. That's another thing. We don't know, right? He didn't disclose that when that article came out. He didn't say, I'm going to be permanently running Verizon's consumer group, or in charge of it at least. So that remains to be seen. We could get someone else to take that role. We just don't know yet. But that, for me, is a negative for the outlook in 2023. I don't see them gaining a large, huge positive momentum on that side. Is there a possibility where in some of those quarters they do post positive numbers? Like maybe 50, 60, 70,000? Sure, I could see that happening. But they need to start logging in quarters where they're adding 3, 4, 500,000 on that consumer group, and they are not even anywhere close to that at this juncture. So part of my outlook for the consumer group, Verizon consumer group, I see that, I still see that as a negative in 2023. And part of that negative, I also see the financials, stepping down because they're losing a lot of, high paying customers. Verizon's base is largely based on the premium side. So as they're losing customers on the consumer group side, it's going to hurt their financials. The consumer group is their largest revenue intake in that entire company. So as they lose customers, they start shedding customers, they lose profits and revenue by default. There's nothing they can do about it. Unless, like I said, they change, and I've done videos about that before, they have to change fundamentally. They're losing customers with the network as good as it's being reported by the third parties, and getting better. In 2023, we're going to start seeing Ookla, OpenSignal. They're all going to report, oh, snap, Verizon is that much faster, that much bigger, which is what we've already known. But these reports are going to start showing it, and it hasn't mattered. The network has not mattered. It has not changed that consumer trajectory for Verizon. So the last outlook that I wanted to cover for this 2023 for Verizon is business. I think business remains strong for them. I think they take a lot of enterprise customers back from AT&T potentially. They also maybe start cutting into some of the businesses that are with T-Mobile as well. That's Verizon's arena. That's their strong suit. To get the type of service networking that you may need as a business overall, you're going to have to pay Verizon to get that, because that's where Verizon is just super strong, not just from a network perspective, but how they're all interconnected, how they have the global presence. I mean, that's Verizon's, that's their strong suit, big time. That's where they're really, 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 really good. And that's where they have that perception. So that's not really going to require a lot of marketing push. That's not going to require a lot of changes. Even these last few quarters, as they had a huge downtrend on the consumer side, they were still growing the business side by 300,000-400,000, and I expect that to continue through all 4 quarters in 2023. That's where Verizon is really, really, really good. I give them credit. I mean, from some of the documents that I've seen, some of the stuff that I've heard, the business side, how they treat it, how they invest in it, and have invested in it for these past years, it's incredible. It's quite incredible. It's going to take a T-Mobile, I would assume it's going to take T-Mobile a decade to just, if they even pursue that, to get anywhere remotely close to the type of ecosystem in an infrastructure that Verizon possesses on that business side. It's incredible. That's that's all I can say about that. It's incredible. It's wireless. It's wireline. It's networking centers, global centers. I mean, it's insane. It's really insane. And when I say that, I'm very confident in that. And I'm speaking, of course, objectively. Like I said, I like T-Mobile. I like their competitiveness. But on that enterprise side, that that belongs to Verizon. And I know AT&T is not far off, but AT&T has some room to grow, but they also have more networking and more centers and all that to add in too, right? That is, I mean, when I say Verizon is really good at that, that's what they're really good at. And I know these businesses know that. And that's why oftentimes they choose Verizon, and if they do choose T-Mobile or AT&T for cheaper cost, whatever the case may be, eventually they start gravitating back to Verizon because they know this is not how I used to use this before, and it was working so well on this platform, which is Verizon. Now I'm on another carrier, and the network is decent, it works, but I don't have the same capabilities that I was able to do before, if I'm making sense there. So that's I give that hats off to Verizon on that. I think they continue growing that, 2, 3, 400,000 a quarter. And I don't see that side of the business slowing down at all. Even if there's a price increase, some of these businesses, they'll fork it up because they know that Verizon and what they bring to the table on the enterprise side. So let me know what you think about this in the comment section down below. Just wanted to cover that outlook, those three things, right? Fixed wireless access, I see that continuing in a positive way. Consumer group wireless, postpaid, I think that's a big negative for Verizon. Just too much competition, too much T-Mobile, too much AT&T, too much MVNO, too much prepaid, new MVNO entrances in 2023, Boost Infinite, Mobile X, just too tough in that space, at least how they're currently positioned. And then business enterprise, huge segment for Verizon. I think they continue dominating that. The global scale, the interconnected, the ecosystem, it's just massive for Verizon. So let me know your comments in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe to the channel. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. See y'all in the next one. Peace.